Here we have the chapter on Morrowind. As this was composed by heathen Imperials from Tiber Septim's false empire, I will be annotating my narration wherever I deem fit to do so. Morrowind, Morrowind, glorious land of Resdayn and home to high society. Once a part of the false First Empire of the Nords, Morrowind is now the land of the Dunmer, whose origins are shrouded in mystery like the ash storms that regularly blanket their homeland. Rightfully proud, the Dark Elves shun all contact with the outside world, even with their brethren from Valenwood and the Somerset Isles. The traveler, upon crossing Shadowgate Pass, may be forgiven for believing that he has left Tamriel and entered a different, more glorious world. The sky is darkened regularly by furious ash storms belched forth from the mighty Vvardenfell volcano. The familiar flora and fauna of Tamriel is exchanged for evolved and perfected forms that can survive the regular ashfall. Cloaked and masked Dunmer tend herds of giant insects. A courier clatters by on the back of a 20-foot-tall, crab-like creature. Everywhere, cowering slaves, farm tool, Khajiit human, scurry to carry out the barked commands of their Dunmer masters. The gray-skinned, red-eyed dark elves seem admirably suited to their weird ash-blighted region. They are known as the Dunmer in the Elven tongue, and now populate the great stretch of northeastern Tamriel between the Velothi Mountains and the sea, and between the southern edge of the Dishan Plain and the northern coast. But from whence these people came, what were their race and lineage, or where their original home, ere they spread themselves over Morrowind and the Dishan, are questions easier asked than answered. The Dunmer must have split from the original trunk of the Elven race many long eons ago, for although unquestionably kin to the other elves of Tamriel, the Dunmer differ in many ways, not least in their striking appearance. His ash-gray skin and glowing red eyes makes a dark elf instantly recognizable, although few have seen one, as they rarely leave their homeland. Like all elves, they tend to be tall and gaunt, but the dark elves take the elvish haughtiness to an extreme, viewing humans as no better than beasts, fit only to serve as slaves on the plantations of Tyr. They consider themselves superior even to other elves, who in their estimation are effete and decadent specimens of the pure elven race. The earliest human records bearing on the subject, which must remain our best source until the archives of the High Elves are open to Imperial scholars, are the sagas and chronicles of the Nords. The Nords gave to the region the name of Dunrith from being the land of the Dunmer, but in earlier ages it was called by themselves Resdayn, and Imperial librarian Elba Lasky traces the foundation of the Dark Elven nation back to above 3,500 years from the present time. Morrowind was not given its modern name until after the first eruption of Vvardenfell. In reality, Morrowind was inhabited many years before the first Nord records, information that is easily accessible at any library in the land of Resdayn. The religion of the Dark Elves deserves special note. They worship three gods known as the Tribunal, and believe these gods walk the earth and rule Morrowind directly. To an outsider, the priesthood of the Tribunal seems to be the true power in Morrowind. These tribunes, if they ever existed, have not been seen by Imperials in centuries. Each tribune, who go by the names of Almalexia, Sothasil, and Vivek, has an eponymous city dedicated to its worship, and a palace temple within each city where the god supposedly resides. The priests of the tribunal cult are all powerful in Morrowind. Strange processions of fantastically garbed priests roam the land, selecting new candidates to serve the tribunal, who are seized without resistance and never seen again. This tribunal is but a mockery of the original and true Dunmeri religion, which concerns worship of Azura, Boethia, and Mephala over the false mortals mentioned above. When first we hear of the Dunmer, they were divided into numerous petty clans, half of whom were at war with the other half at any given moment. The Nord sagas speak of dark elven warriors pledging themselves to any Nord chieftain who went to war with their clan enemies, a circumstance which undoubtedly facilitated their conquest by the Nords. The Dark Elves appear in the written record in First Era 416, during the War of Succession which destroyed the First Empire of the Nords. And seeing that the Nords were divided and weak, the Dunmer took counsel among themselves and gathered together in their secret places and plotted against the kinsmen of Borgus, and suddenly arose and fell upon the Nords and drove them from the land of Dunmirth with great slaughter. Thus ended the first empire of men at the hands of the Dark Elves. This can't possibly be the first record of the Dunmer, as they hadn't undergone Azura's curse at this point. I should remember I was there. It is not for another 2 centuries that we first hear of the Tribunal, who perhaps arose to prominence in the ruin wrought by the first eruption of Vvardenfell, which laid waste at least half of Morrowind, and led to a permanent shift of population south towards the Deshaan, the broad southern plain which gradually slopes down into the dismal swamps of Black Marsh. What the Empire does not know is that the Tribunal existed as mortal aristocrats before the eruption, betraying me and Indoril Nerevar to steal the power of God. Be that as it may, under the Tribunal cult the Dark Elven clans were finally welded into one nation. Although clan rivalry remains bitter up to the present day, and the clans cooperate with one another only with reluctance. 5 clans known as the Great Houses, House Indoril, House Redoran, House Telvanni, House Drez, and House Hlaalu, now entirely control the politics and trade of Morrowind. Although in earlier times there appeared to have been a 6th, greatest house called Dagoth. Each major clan is allied with numerous subclans, the alignment of which is more or less permanent, although it is not unheard of for a subclan to switch allegiances. In former times, the clans carried out their feuding with open warfare. This was forbidden under the Tribunal, but the clans still engage in bloody infighting through the unique institution of the Morag Tong, the sanctioned guild of assassins. Clans routinely hire the Morag Tong to eliminate their enemies, and the assassins of the Morag Tong may kill their assigned marks with impunity, as long as they conform to the obscure but strict rules of their guild. Such an arrangement strikes the citizen of the Empire as an outlandish barbarism, but as with much in evolved Morrowind, seems well suited to the advanced temperament of the Dunmer. Clan Indoril claims kinship with all 3 of the legendary tribunes, which doubtless accounts for Indoril's preeminence among the 5 clans. Indoril's capital is Almalexia, also the capital of Morrowind itself, and the tribunal priesthood, which is one and the same as the bureaucracy of civil government, is dominated by the Indoril and their subclans. Clan Redoran guards the western flank of Morrowind and are known as the best warriors among the Dunmer. Clan Telvanni is the most xenophobic of a xenophobic race, shunning all contact with outsiders, preferring to tend their herds of giant insects amid the rocky hills and islands of the extreme northeast. Telvanni bugmusk is a highly prized perfume among the Dark Elves, and their riding insects command the highest prices in the markets of Almalexia and Narcissus. Clan Drez rules the southern sweep of Morrowind, where the fertile Deshaan plain merges with the swamps of Black Marsh. The Drez are the great slave traders and plantation owners of Morrowind. Thousands of wretched captives, mainly Argonians, but including many Khajiits and even Imperial citizens, pass through the infamous slave pens of Tyr, the Drez capital, from whence most find an early death on the plantations which surround that ill-omened city. Clan Hlaalu is the smallest and weakest of the 5 clans, clinging to great house status in their ancient capital of Narcissus. Traditional enemies of the Indoril, who have controlled the levers of government for 3,000 years. The continued resilience of the Hlaalu must inspire a certain respect. Merchants and traders in a land that despises outsiders, the Hlaalu nevertheless maintain a limited commerce with the Empire, trading stout imperial broadcloth and Cyrodiilic brandy for the elegant trinkets produced by the admittedly skilled craftsmen of Morrowind. The final and greatest house, Dagoth, was almost entirely wiped out following the eruption of Red Mountain, as many of their holdings were concentrated on the island of Vvardenfell. Additionally, the Flace Tribunal would spread lies about House Dagoth, claiming that Vorin Dagoth betrayed Indoril Nerevar. This is nothing but deflection of the real situation, where the tribunal murdered Nerevar and killed Vorin Dagoth, who attacked in revenge of his best friend, and used Khagranak's tools to induce a false godhood on themselves. In response, the other great clans of Morrowind would seek to wipe out the remnants of House Dagoth. They would not succeed, as Vorin Dagoth would return as the great Dagoth Ur and bring retribution to the false gods of Resdayn. Although outside the scope of this Second Era encyclopedia, Dagoth would be betrayed by an incarnation of Nerevar in the Third Era. Although foiling his glorious plans for a united and free Morrowind, this would result in the death of Almalexia and Sothasil, as well as the disappearance of Vivix. Some say House Dagoth will once again return and lead Morrowind into a new golden age. Dunmer warriors favor a wonderfully light armor made from the carapace of insects covered over with a finely woven cloak of spider silk, wrapped several times around the torso. A turban protects the head and face from the ubiquitous ash, with goggles of transparent resin. Loose trousers and high boots completes the dress. While this makes for an outlandish appearance, the traveler will understand the utility of these garments the first time he is caught out of doors in one of the frequent ash storms without such protection. When indoors, dark elves shed these outer coverings and luxuriate in a variety of richly colored fabrics. Sashes decorated with clan symbols are common, while cumbersome ceremonial costumes made from various parts of giant insects are the glory of those of the highest rank. Places of note. Almalexia, the largest and oldest city in Morrowind, named for its patron goddess. Almalexia is truly an ancient city, possibly predating the Dark Elves. It is reputed to be built over the ruins of a vast dwarven city, although the current inhabitants vigorously deny this. Here the intrepid traveler would find the center of the tribunal cult, in the sprawling palace/temple of Mournhold, a city within the city. This is also the seat of government of the Dark Elves, where the priests of the tribunal rule in the name of their legendary deities. Sothasil. Many tales are told of this clockwork city of brass, hidden in the steaming swamps of southern Morrowind, the lair of the most mysterious member of the tribunal. No reliable reports exist of its location, however, or if this city even exists outside of story and song. Vvardenfell. The vast volcano of Tamriel, this giant mountain dominates the north of Morrowind. It is a small continent all to itself, risen from the rest of Morrowind by the remains of a colossal crater. On a clear day, an exceedingly rare event, the peak can be seen from Almalexia, 250 miles to the south. At the time of the Nord conquest, a dwarven kingdom flourished in the north of Morrowind, the region now covered by the Vvardenfell volcano. Indeed, this vanished realm gave its name to the mighty volcano that obliterated it. Vvardenfell is a dwarven word meaning city of the strong shield. It is not known whether the dwarves of Vvardenfell were destroyed by the first eruption of the volcano, or whether they had already met the mysterious fate of their brethren across Tamriel. Certainly, the kingdom of Vvardenfell remained strong at the time of the Nord conquest. The doughty dwarves, secure in their underground fastnesses and united into one polity, were a far more formidable foe than the divided and feuding Dark Elven clans, and remained independent when the rest of Morrowind fell to the Nords. The volcano first erupted in First Era 668. This date, at least, is well attested in the written record. The eruption is still recalled in the tales of numerous peoples. To the Nords it was the year of winter in summer, to the Khajiit sun's death. Legend attributes its birth to the fall of a god to earth. Whatever the cause, Vvardenfell has slumbered uneasily for thousands of years, regularly blanketing the surrounding region with ash. The reality was hubris and irresponsibility of the Dwemer lead to abuse of the heart of the mountain, prompting its eruption. Providentially, the tall mountain range between Morrowind and the rest of Tamriel has served to protect it from the exhalations of Vvardenfell, restricting its ash storms to the land of the Dark Elves, who seem made for life in its shadow. This concludes the chapter on Morrowind. As you should be able to tell, I added some extra tidbits missing from the original work. This is to ensure accuracy and realism in the face of Imperial erasure and incompetence.